All right, today we're going to break down the anatomy of a professional AC job. We're talking about the 5 non-negotiable principles you've got to know for success with the RUTU 104 unit. Think of this as your roadmap to getting the job done safely, legally, and of course, effectively. So let's get right into it. So let's just jump right in with a pretty high-stakes question, right? Picture this. You're about to dive into an AC system. What's really the worst that could happen? I mean, if you get this wrong, what are the real risks? Because trust me, it's a whole lot more than just a car that doesn't blow cold air. We are talking about some seriously big consequences. First, and this one is no joke, explosion. Yeah, you heard that right. See, modern AC systems are running all sorts of different refrigerants now, and some of those aftermarket gases, they are extremely flammable. All it takes is one simple mistake. You misidentify what's in the system, and you could literally have a disaster on your hands. And then there's this, a serious environmental offense. You know, these refrigerant gases aren't just air, they're heavily controlled substances. Venting them into the atmosphere? That's a huge no-no. We're talking about a serious legal offense with some pretty hefty fines. So it's not just about doing right by the planet, it's about not getting a massive hit to your wallet. And number 3, you could be looking at total catastrophic equipment failure. If you use the wrong refrigerant or even just the incorrect type of oil, you can absolutely shred a compressor. And once that happens, it contaminates the entire system. What could have been a simple, straightforward repair suddenly becomes a nightmare job, a full system replacement. Okay, so how do we dodge all these bullets? Well, it all starts right here with our first principle. Think of it as the starting line. You've got to be licensed, and you have to identify what you're working with first. And I mean first, before a single tool even comes out of the box. Let's be crystal clear about this. The Arctic license. This is absolutely essential. It's not a guideline, it's not a good idea. It is a mandatory legal requirement for any tech in Australia who touches refrigerant gases. It's not optional, period. Without it, you are working illegally. And this table, well, this really spells out why that identification step is so critical. Just look at the flammability differences. You've got your older R134A, which is pretty low risk. But then you jump to the R1234YF in modern cars, and suddenly we're talking mildly flammable. And those aftermarket hydrocarbon or HC refrigerants, they are highly flammable. You absolutely have to know which one you're dealing with. And you'll also see GWP there. That's global warming potential. It's another huge difference that shows just how different these gases really are. And here it is, the golden rule, pulled right from the official requirements. This isn't my opinion, this is the standard. Identifying the refrigerant correctly before connecting any equipment is explicitly required. So it's not just a good idea, it's a command. That means you need to use a refrigerant identifier to get a positive ID on what's in that system before your gauges get anywhere near those service ports. All right, moving on to our second principle. Let's call this one the blueprint. Know the system. It's pretty simple, really. You just can't fix something if you don't truly understand how it's supposed to work in the first place. And at the very heart of how an AC system works is this one concept, heat transfer. So many people think that an AC system creates cold air. It absolutely doesn't. It's not a cold-making machine, it's a heat pump. Its entire purpose, its one and only job, is to grab heat from inside your cabin and dump it outside the vehicle. Once you get that, it completely changes how you think about diagnosing problems. And this right here, this is a perfect illustration of how that heat transfer actually happens. The whole system is basically split in two. You've got the high pressure side, that's the hot side. It runs from the compressor outlet to the expansion valve. This is where the refrigerant gets squeezed and dumps its heat to the outside air through the condenser. And then you have the low pressure side, that's the cold side. This is where the refrigerant expands, gets super cold in the evaporator, and soaks up all the heat from inside the car. Knowing which components live on which side is absolutely crucial when you're staring at your manifold gauges trying to make sense of the readings. Okay, so you're licensed, you know what refrigerant you're working with, and you get how the system works. What's next? Well, that brings us to principle number 3, the investigation. This is all about having a solid, structured diagnostic strategy. Time to put on your detective hat. Look, a professional diagnosis is never just guesswork. It's a process. It follows a logical path every single time. First, you source your info, get that manufacturer data, and find the diagnostic flowcharts. Second, you scan. Plug in that scan tool and see what the car's computers are saying. Check for codes, look at live data. Third, you measure. Now you can connect your manifold gauges and your temperature probes to see what's happening in the real world. And finally, you test. You perform those specific electrical tests like voltage drops to isolate and confirm a fault. And why is this four-step approach so important? Well, for this unit, you're going to have to prove you can do it not once, but twice. You've got to diagnose and repair faults on 2 different vehicles. It's a totally hands-on assessment, so having a systematic process like this isn't just helpful, it's really the only way to guarantee success. So you've investigated the crime scene and you've found the culprit. Now it's time to actually fix it. This is our 4th principle, the procedure. This is the hands-on part, recovering the old refrigerant, doing the actual repair, and then recharging the system the right way. Now, recovering refrigerant isn't just sucking gas out of a car. It is a super precise, highly regulated process. And probably the most critical part is weighing the recovery cylinder. You weigh it when it's empty, that's the tare weight, and you weigh it again after you're done. Why? Because that is the only way to know exactly how much refrigerant you took out. And you need that number for legal compliance and to know exactly how much to put back in. And if you get this step wrong, well, the consequences are severe. This quote from the source material lays it all out. Messing up the recovery can lead to refrigerant mixing, which is a disaster for your equipment, or even worse, dangerous overpressure events, not to mention illegally venting it. So yeah, this is a massive safety and environmental checkpoint you just can't skip. Okay, we're on the home stretch. Our 5th and final principle is what I call the sign-off. This is all about finishing the job right. Because listen, a professional job is not finished when the tools go back in the box. It's finished when the system is fully tested and every bit of work is properly documented. Once you've repaired and recharged the system, you're not done yet. These post-repair checks are absolutely non-negotiable. You've got to do a thorough refrigerant leak check. You need to check the heater core and coolant for leaks too. You have to do a temperature test, compare the outside air temp to what's coming out of that center vent. You've got to test the condenser and suction line temps. And of course, check your manifold pressures both when the system is off and when it's running. This is your proof. This is how you confirm that the repair actually worked and that the system is running safely and exactly as it should. And finally, we have the Arctic service decal. And let me tell you, this is so much more than just a sticker you slap on under the hood. It is the official, legal record of the job you just did. It clearly shows who did the work, the business and the technician, with license numbers. It shows the date, and critically, it documents the exact type and amount of refrigerant and oil that went into the system. If this decal isn't filled out correctly and placed on the vehicle, the job isn't legally complete. So, I want to leave you with this one final thought. After all that work, the complex diagnostics, the careful recovery, the precise repair, could it be that this simple little sticker is actually the most important tool you use all day? Think about it. It represents everything: your professionalism, your legal compliance, your personal responsibility as a licensed technician. It is the ultimate sign-off. It's the proof that you didn't just fix a problem. You did the job professionally, and you did it right.